Hey everyone, welcome to Learn DAX channel. My name is Desh, and in the previous video we had calculated the sales amount for latest year and sales amount for latest year minus 1. The limitation of that formula was that if you are going to traverse back 2 or 3 units in time, maybe 2 years, 3 years or 4 years or 5 months, 6 months, something like that, which was not going to be possible using the formula that we had used. For example, in this case, we are using the variable last year as something that we get after subtracting 1 from the latest year, which is derived from the max formula. So if I want to go back by, let's say, 2 months, 3 months, then I would have to, or 2 years, 3 years, I would have to go back into this formula and change it from 1 to 1, 3. But that's not something that you want the end user to experience. The end user should be able to select a range from, let's say, 0 to 12 in case of months, so that he can go back by 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and then the measure will dynamically update itself and give me the sales amount for that corresponding month. So that's what we're going to try and achieve in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, in order to create a series of values which goes from 0 to 12, I'm going to create something called as a parameter, which essentially will generate a series of values basis which the measure that we're going to create is going to get affected. So if I go to the modeling tab and create a new parameter, I'll select the numeric range and I'll call this parameter number of months. To keep it simple, as many number of months that I would want to traverse back. And let's keep it whole number. The minimum value will be 0, which will be the current month. Or I can just start with 1 because we don't want to see the value for the sales amount in this month as well as the same value to be populated if I choose the the previous month, or the current month. We're always going to have the value for the current month, and if it defaults to 0, it's going to have repeated values. So let's start with 1. So if it's December 2021, then I'm going to get to see November 2021, and the maximum value will be 12, so that from December 21 to December 20 I can get the sales amount. Increment will be set to 1, and I will quickly create this slicer, and it has this check mark which says add slicer to this page, and I'll say yes. So this has by default created a slicer which is more like a range selection. I want to change it. I don't want the slider, I want it to be a drop down. Or for this demonstration, let's make it vertical list. Yeah. And I want to have it to, because you can only go back by 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, not 2 months and 3 months. So let's change the slicer to a single select. Perfect. So now we have, I can go back by 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, etc. Now let's start building the measure. Now I'll call this sales amount month dynamic. So I'll call this VAR selection, or VAR number of months will be my selected value in my number of months. Yeah, this will be the selected value. So I'll just return this number of select. So now if I pull this measure, convert to a card, then whatever my selection be, 2, 3, I'm going to get that value which I'm going to further use in DAX. Now let's start building up that formula. Now I also need a slicer which gives me the year comma month, because that's what I want. That if I have, let's say, December 2021, then I want to have the sales amount corresponding to November 2021 should the selection be 1. So I also need a slicer for the same. So I'll go to the visuals, I'll choose a slicer. I don't want a range slicer, I want a vertical list, or I want a drop down. And again, this will also be a single select slicer because we can only go back by 1 month in case of a single selection of a month. So if it's December 2021, then I want that this should show November 2021. So let's try this thing that we did in the previous measure, where selected, let's call it selected month. will be my selected value from my measure, from my slicer, which will be a date, year, comma month minus number of months, and let's return selected month. So if my current month is December 2021, then it should give me November 2021. Okay, if I go back by 2 months, it should give me October 2021. But hold on, this is not going back 1 month at a time. Rather, it's going back 1 day at a time. Well, that's because it is seeing the date as a complete unit and then taking it one unit at a time in terms of the day. Like for example, if I select 3, it's going back by 3 days. So initially where I was at 30th of December 2021, now going back by 2 units, it's 29th December, 29th November, then 28th November, 27th November. So first selection is going back to November, then after that it's going by just 1 day. So 29th November, 28th November, 24th November, 26th November, something like that. And this is not what I want. This is far from what I want. So I need to implement some logic that would get the DAX to traverse back by 1 month instead of going back by 1 day. So in order to do that, I am going to use something called as the DateAdd function. Now, if you are not aware of the DateAdd function, I've already created a video on the same. You can check it out. I will leave the link in the description. So what DateAdd does is, if you give it a series of dates or a select any date, then it will push back that date by the said number of intervals. It could be year, it could be month, it could be quarter, it could be day. So I will call this new variable something like my selected month. That will be, I will use the DateAdd function. Now the first argument is the dates, in which case we are using the year comma month. So I'll use date, year comma month. That will be the argument in first case. The number of intervals will be, in this case, again, number of months, the variable that we created in the previous step. Now, since we want to go backwards, we will have to use a negative sign here, indicating that we want to go backwards. And the interval, like I said, it can be month, it can be day, it can be quarter, it can be year. For this example, we are going to use month because we want to go back by months. Now, if I hit enter and choose the selected month, now let's go here and try and get what months we are getting. So in case of December 2021, if I go back by 1 month, it's giving me 1st November 2021. For second, if I choose 2, it's giving me the October of 2021. In case of, if I go traverse back by 3 months, it's giving me September 2021, August 2021, July 2021, June 2021, and so on and so forth. So this logic is working correctly. Now the last thing that we want to do here is to use that in a calculate function. So I will use sales amount, and in this case it will be selected month, because DateAdd function is already going to give return us a set of dates, so we can directly use that and get the required sales amount. So I want to verify if the value that I'm getting is correct or not. So what I'll do is, I have the year month column in my table, and I will change it to year month, and I will stop the interaction of this slicer with this visual so that I can see the list for all the months, all the year end months. Then I'll quickly grab the sales amount, and also I will change the values to reflect values in millions so that I can see the values more clearly. Where do I have it? Here, comma month, sales amount 2020. Display units will be millions. Okay, I dragged sales amount 2020. I need the sales amount. So again, I'll have to do some rework. Now I have to again go back, go to specific column, sales amount, change the display units to millions. So now I have a complete table of, if I choose December, if I choose December in this case, and if I'm going back by how many, 6 months. So this should be, this is November, this will be October, this will be September, this will be August, this will be July, this will be June, which means the sales corresponding to June 2021 should be 87 million. Now, if I go here and I check that the sales corresponding to June 2021 is 87 million. Now, there's one catch though, which is that if I go to this formula, or if I just delete this particular slicer, then this formula will break apart because this relies on the fact that we are providing a set of dates in the current context. The moment I remove this slicer, the context is absent and the formula will just break. So please make a note of that while solving this problem. And yeah, this brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new. And like I said, if you haven't yet used the DateAdd function, I've already created a video on the same. I will leave the link in the description. You can check it out. I will also leave a link to the description of my previous video, so you will know what we are trying to achieve in this video, what limitations we had in the previous video. And yes, that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching and happy learning.